Uh-oh.
Oh, there we go. Good morning, John. Welcome back to Silicon Scoop. How you doing today?
Good. Recovering from the outage yesterday where my car app wasn't working. So realized that obviously they use AWS. So that was interesting. How you doing?
I'm doing great. And since you mentioned that, we might as well jump right on into it. I'm just going to get my screen at the right size here. And let's go. On Monday, you might have noticed some of your favorite apps, games, and even blinking sites were just broken. From Snapchat to Roblox to major banks, Lloyd's, millions were affected by a massive outage. Today, we're finding out what happened. Amazon Web Services, the company that acts as the internet's backbone, what happened to them, and why a simple error caused so much havoc. This is about a massive outage at Amazon Web Services, the company that provides the computing power for about a third of the entire internet. The breakdown was caused by a super common and mundane error, a DNS failure, but it highlights a massive problem. Almost everyone is relying on one single company, and when it stumbles, huge parts of the internet go down with it. What's going on here, John?
Yeah, so first off, like you would think that these idiots who are doing this would test things first. Like this is clearly human error. There's no other way around it. This has to be human error. This isn't a cyber attack. This is an idiot that working at Amazon that needs to get fired for his stupidity. That's my opinion though. So, but a software update to Amazon's database service, it contained an error that essentially broke the internet's, let's call it a phone book. So to explain to you what DNS is, it's like a phone book. So every address on the internet has a number associated to it. It's an IP number. Like it could be IPv4 or IPv6. And so what DNS does is it's called the domain name system or domain name service. It resolves. So when you type in www.startupdrinksto.com, it resolves that to a number. So the outage originated from their domain name system or domain name server issue affecting Amazon's DynamoDB service endpoints in the US East 1 region, which is North Virginia. AWS determined that the event was the result of DNS resolution issues for the regional DynamoDB service endpoints, with the root cause appearing to have been an error in an update that affected their domain name system, which works like the internet phone book and turns, like I said, website names into numeric IP addresses that computers use to connect to services. It was a cascading effect. So after resolving the issue, services began recovering, but apparently AWS had subsequent impairment in their internal subsystem of EC2, and that's responsible for launching EC2 instances due to its dependency on DynamoDB. So while they were trying to get this working properly again, there were network load balancer health checks that became impaired, network connectivity issues, and I think that like Instagram and a whole bunch, even including some of my apps, went down. So, yeah. What are your thoughts? I threw out my heavily weighted opinion at the start there, though. But what are your thoughts on this, Craig?
Well,
into some more details that I missed.
We'll get to the timeline in a second, but this wasn't a small glitch. It was a textbook illustration of the internet's biggest vulnerability. It's a huge deal because it shows how centralized the internet has become. We talked about a year or so ago when Cloudflare did this, right? They was a one small change, blue screened all the Windows machines across the world, or a good chunk of them. And that was one company made one change, and it was this cascading effect. So similarly here, one company, AWS, is a backbone for a third of the internet. So when one of its data centers has a simple mundane error, it doesn't just affect them, it affects everybody. And I was looking at there's Canva was down, Roblox, Fortnite, so many other things, Snapchat. I heard Slack was having issues. A lot of banks like Lloyd's, were having a hard time. People couldn't log into banks. I was checking out Supabase was having some problems with authentication and stuff in the afternoon because some of their infrastructure is hosted on Amazon. So it was like people were having, if you knew what was going on, you knew what was going on. But sometimes you were trying to log in your bank and it was giving you like what you were logging in was invalid. I wasn't giving you the things down error. It's like, what do you mean my password's invalid? What's going on? So I think there was a lot of confusion around that. And when this kind of stuff happens, the whole internet has to come to grips with, okay, a poisoning DNS attack could really destroy things, because this was just a DNS error that caused all these issues. How do we change it so that the impact is more pocketized or localized, or so that it's not a third of the internet?
Yeah, it seems like they're missing redundancies.
Yeah, absolutely. They're definitely they're an all eggs in one basket kind of situation. They're missing some redundancies. DNS is a key thing. Like, if someone goes and changed the DNS record, you have authorized, you go in and changed it. We say we should have redundancies, but what does that mean? Should we have DNS challenging it because that authority that has over that thing changed that message? Should the rest of the world say, wait a minute, we challenge your DNS change, which usually takes a while to propagate? Like, that's why
Very right.
So it's hard to look at this and say, what you can have your own, you cache locally, you can see what happens when you notice something like this. Maybe if you know what happens, you can isolate it and remove that from your chunk of the DNS at that point. But there's not, unless we're changing the situation about DNS. And then again, who has the right to change? And if you don't accept the change, then you won't be pointing to the right server anymore, and everything's out of whack and the things may be down. Like, it's a complicated thing when it goes through it, but yeah, it is a problem. But there's all this is DNS. It's notoriously common for tech workers, catchphrases. It's always DNS at some point. So we really need to keep on top of it. Well, hopefully they will understand their cloud and internal environment a little bit more. And maybe there is a solution here when we're using multi-IP, IPv6 and IPv4. So if you can't access it one route, you can access it another route. So when you do make changes, you only make one at a time or what have you. And maybe one of the paths stays redundant over a period of time. Anyway, there's some thoughts around that. Any thoughts on your end from what could be done about this?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to dive into it. I haven't I used to be a heavy network geek, but I feel like with having these single point of failures is just not acceptable anymore. We need some sort of innovative solution for this, and the reason being is because this isn't AWS's first outage. They had a huge one in 2021 when airline reservations, auto dealership, payment apps, video streaming services were affected for more than 5 hours. There was a brief outage in 2023. There was an outage in 2020 and 2017. So, they're not learning their lesson, obviously.
Yeah, and people can say it's not that big of a deal, but if it's your business, if you were at Eventbrite yesterday and you couldn't sell tickets, and none of the people who rely on Eventbrite to sell tickets for their business could actually sell tickets, or you couldn't look up who actually bought tickets because you were hosting an event yesterday, so you couldn't actually print out a list of who actually had valid tickets and people are lining up it's a big deal affecting those individuals. For us who just, something's Twitter's down or what have you, off we go to something else, it's no big deal. But if your business is affected by these things and you can't take money during a peak time, or you can't perform a business function that you need to perform at that time, it could be a huge issue. So definitely there are concerns. But yeah, you're right. This has happened before, and it probably will happen again.
Yeah. And so I think this guy's exaggerating a little bit, but Catchpoint CEO, Mehdi Daoudi, sorry if I butchered that name, He estimated that the financial impact of this outage will easily reach into the hundreds of billions. Maybe. What do you think about that statement?
I don't know how they calculate this. My first articles I read were hundreds of millions, but somebody digging in a little deeper. And usually when they do reports like that, they're double dipping. They'll say this is a cascading effect along the chain, but you can't take the same impact from 10 spots in the chain and add them together, right? It just doesn't kind of work. So it depends on how they calculate it. It's a huge impact, and I think we shouldn't dismiss it. And we'll have to see if there's going to be lawsuits or any sort of remuneration for their clients as a result.
There won't be. I doubt it. I don't think Azure, Microsoft, none of these, Cloudflare, I don't think any of them. Well, maybe there were secret remunerations, right, that we don't know about, that weren't public, but nothing that I've heard of.
If they missed an SLA, people will have some credits and stuff in their SLA agreements. As a corporation, I would always had those in all mine.
Yeah.
So this was a huge wake up call for the entire internet. We built this amazing digital world. We built it on just a few giant centralized platforms. It makes you wonder, is it too late to build real alternatives, or are we stuck with these giants just hoping they don't have another bad day? We'll be close and watching on this one.
Yeah.
Let us know what your comments are. All right. Banners. Great. Let's make sure we get the right thing. This is cool. I like this one.
Yeah, this one's interesting.
Great. Today, we're diving into something that sounds like science fiction. A box that can pull clean, drinkable water right out of the air, even in the desert. And the most amazing part, it uses zero electricity, has no moving parts. This is a solar cube, and it could be a game changer for water scarcity. The solar cube is a new device that uses sunlight to passively pull humidity from the air at night and release it as ultra pure drinking water during the day. It's a huge deal because it's durable, scalable, and zero energy way to provide clean water to remote areas, disaster zones, and off-grid communities that have no access to a power grid or water infrastructure. What do you think about this, John?
I absolutely love this. So imagine a simple wooden cube, okay? It's the size of a coffee mug, and it can literally pull drinking water out of the thin air using nothing but sunlight. This quote-unquote smart sponge, it works like nature's own water cycle in miniature. So during the night, or when the lid is open, the specially treated balsa wood absorbs moisture from the air around it, just like a super efficient sponge. Then when you close the lid and put it in sunlight, the solar energy heats up the material and releases the pure, clean drinking water that drips into the cup below. So how it works is they've engineered what they call quote-unquote WLG-15. So it's a wood-based composite material, and it represents a crazy breakthrough in atmospheric water harvesting. So it exploits the naturally porous architecture of refined balsa wood as a three-dimensional scaffold, which is then infused with lithium chloride, which is deliquinous salt, and then iron oxide nanoparticles for the solar thermal conversion. And finally, a carbon nanotube layer for enhanced heat distribution. So they've combined nature with science, which is really cool, and created a hydroscopic material with a crazy water absorption capacity, capable of absorbing up to 2 millimeters of water per gram of material at 90% relative humidity, and still achieving 0.6 millimeters per gram at 30% humidity, where most atmospheric water generators fail completely. So no moving parts, no electricity needed, just natural sunlight. I think this is phenomenal. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, not needing a ton of energy or fans like they do right now, any of these methods that they have. This is great. The researchers show it's freeze resistant, tested down to negative 20 degrees. It keeps working efficiently cycle after cycle. It makes it perfect for harsh environments. And the water is super clean. The natural purification method leaves behind bacteria and viruses, dissolves salts and minerals, heavy metals and toxins, and other harmful contaminants. No additional boiling or purification steps are required. It sounds great. Like, using this for disaster relief, humanitarian aid, off the grid living, or community scale water, because you could modularize these like Lego to produce more and more and more. And maybe people have these on the roofs of their houses or whatnot at some point to produce clean, drinkable water for them when things start getting bad. But I like the real concept. They didn't mention price. Do you know the cost?
I don't. Hold on. Let me just look at my notes here. No, I don't see any cost here. But it says projected market growth 6.2 to 12.7 billion by 2034 for water crisis. But that doesn't speak to the price of this. No, but yeah.
And there's some concerns about scale. Like performance is measured in millimeters per gram of material.
Yeah.
So that means you need a lot of material to produce gallons of water. So it's scalable, but a community version might be the size of shipping containers or larger to do more and more and more of these. So you have to consider that. It's also not a magic bullet. It still depends on having some humidity, at least 30%, and critically reliable sunlight. It won't work as well during long stretches of cloudy days or in extreme cold temperatures. So it survives the cold. It just won't be producing a lot of water in that cold.
Yeah. The cool thing that we didn't touch on is the development process itself, how they developed it. They actually used machine learning and AI. So they incorporated ML algorithms to optimize device performance across varying environmental conditions. So that represents kind of a new paradigm in atmospheric water harvesting system design. So the AI models, what they did was they analyzed the complex interactions between ambient temperature, humidity, solar irradiance, airflow patterns, and material properties to predict optimal operating parameters in real time. So this approach enabled the team to fine-tune the balance between water absorption capacity and release efficiency, which identified those precise ratios of the wood and materials that enabled them to develop this. So I feel like if they use that same AI or that same LLM, that's what's gonna help them to scale this.
It sounds like it. So, and again, this isn't theory. It's working. They have these working devices working at 94% efficiency. So it seems like it's just now a matter of scaling them and getting them to where they're needed the most.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's all we have time for the Solar Cube. It's an incredible piece of engineering that works with nature, not against it. And we'll be watching to see how quickly they can scale this from a successful research project to a life-saving product in the field. So what do you think? Is this the future of water for off-grid communities, or is the scale challenge too big? Let us know what you think. Everything's lined up. Great. Let me go back to this. Today, we're diving into something that could genuinely challenge medicine forever. We're not just talking about AI finding cancer in a scan. We're talking about an AI that is creating brand new original ideas for how to treat it. Google's DeepMind Lab just announced a breakthrough that has scientists genuinely astonished at it's all focused on the type of cancer that until now has been notoriously difficult to treat. Google and Yale University built an AI that doesn't just analyze existing data, it generates its own original scientific hypothesis. And it just came up with a new drug combination to fight cold tumors, a type of cancer that uses that hides from our immune system. Scientists tested the AI brand new idea in a lab with living cells, and it worked exactly as the AI predicted. This is incredible, John. What's going on here?
Yeah, I think this is awesome. This is really cool. So, Google's AI called CS2-scale 27B. I don't know how they name these things, but whatever. It's like a brilliant scientist that can read individual cancer cells and understand their molecular language. So what these researchers did was they gave this AI a seemingly impossible challenge. Figure out how to make cold tumors, which are cancers that are invisible to our immune system, become hot and detectable so that immunotherapy treatments can actually work against them. And what the AI did was it analyzed data from over 4,000 different drugs and made a startling prediction. A drug called CX-4945, when combined with low-dose interferon, could make cancer cells 50% more visible to the immune system. And what made this discovery remarkable is that the drug combination had never been connected to cancer immunity before. So the AI literally invented a new therapeutic concept. And furthermore, when scientists tested this prediction in human cells, it worked exactly as the AI predicted, which represents, I think, the first time that AI has generated a completely novel cancer treatment hypothesis that was validated in real laboratory experiments. I think this is super cool. This is what AI is should be used for. I love this. What do you think about this? Do you have any other thoughts on this?
I like this. This AI is different. It's more like a creative partner than an actual scientist. It was trained on massive amounts of biological data until it learned to understand the language of our cells, how they send chemical signals and communicate with each other. And because it understands that fundamental language, it came up with brand new ideas for treatments that no human scientist had ever thought of. It's not just spotting patterns, it's creating new theories from scratch. And the fact that what it's coming up with actually works rather than, some child putting stuff together in a lab saying doodle-doo and it's nothing. It's solving huge specific problems. This was a really hard to treat, the cold tumor specifically. And now we've got a treatment for it. Obviously, it has to go through lab testing and a bunch of other stuff, but this is an amazing discovery. And the fact that more and more we're getting things like this, I'm astonished.
Yeah, and this isn't the only breakthrough. This breakthrough occurs when there's a competitive landscape. So companies like Insilo Medicine, they've achieved clinical milestones with AI design molecules progressing through phase 1 trials, while establishing pharmaceutical companies like Roche, Merck, and Pfizer have invested billions in AI-driven drug discovery platforms, which I don't know if we've covered any of them. And then there's been a few recent announcements from Eli Lilly's Tune Lab, which represented over 1 billion in proprietary AI training data. Like, all these companies have a crap load of data. I know they're probably mostly in scientist notebooks and things like that, but they have a lot of data, proprietary data, that they could use to help with drug discovery and things that Google are doing as well.
Yeah, and this breakthrough specifically targets cancer that are resistant to our best modern treatments. It offers a new path forward for patients who have run out of options, and starts to lighten, say that we may be able to treat all sorts of things that we never thought we could treat before.
Yeah, and like, if we're like, the reason that all these companies are investing in this is because the global cancer immunotherapy market is currently worth about 125 billion, and it's projected to reach 300 billion by 2030, which I think is ridiculous. I think there's a better way, obviously a cheaper way, but these companies don't want to do it, to treat cancer. And it's not with, I don't think it's with chemotherapy. I think it's with either sound or different things. But that's, again, my opinion. We've covered a couple things like that in the past, though, too.
So this is a research breakthrough. It's not patent or patient ready. Sorry. The idea was proven in a lab with living human tissues, but that's just the first significant step in a long process. So this is still going to need years of rigorous clinical trials in humans. But this is amazing. I want to see where this goes. We're still very early. We need realistic expectations, but the fact that in a few years, whatever that might be, we're going to have new alternatives for people for some of the most deadly diseases known to man, and that is very promising.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is, I like, we've covered a lot of breakthroughs in different diseases over using AI, and this is just one of those other ones. And it seems like they're coming out more, these breakthroughs are becoming more frequent than over the next, like, as time continues.
Indeed. So that's all the time we have for this one, but this is a story we will be tracking very closely. We've just entered a new era where AI isn't just a tool, but it's a genuine collaborator in scientific discovery. What other unsolvable problems do you think we should point this kind of AI at? Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear some of your great ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I need you cool. Are you cool? What's that from?
Oh, I can't remember.
It's Samuel L. Jackson and
That's not Pulp Fiction, is it?
yeah, it's Pulp Fiction, I think.
Okay.
When they're all in the apartment, look at the big grain of bread.
Oh yeah, that's definitely Pulp Fiction.
All right. Looks like everything's right. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest problems in tech that nobody talks about: heat. The AI models that power our lives are getting so powerful, they're creating a massive heat problem that's holding back progress. But Microsoft just revealed a breakthrough cooling technology that's a total game changer, and it's inspired by butterfly wings. Microsoft has found a way to water cool a computer chip from the inside. They're using etched microscopic channels the width of a human hair directly onto the chip and running liquid coolant through them. This is a huge deal because it's up to 3 times more efficient than old methods, which saves massive amounts of energy and unlocks the ability to build far more powerful and compact AI. What do you think about this, John?
I think this is cool. I think this is a huge breakthrough. I'll talk about the results quick, and then I'll get into the engineering. So the results of this, the microfluid system can cool chips up to 3 times more efficiently than the best current technology, which reduces peak temperatures by 65%. So this means data centers can run more powerful AI models without overheating, use less energy for cooling, and potentially pack more cooling or more computing power into smaller spaces. So like you talked about, just it centers around in-chip microfluidics, which is a radical departure from conventional external cooling systems. As we know, you throw in some paste, you throw on an external heat sink, and that helps to cool the chip. But this technology involves etching ultra-thin channels directly into the back surface of silicon chips, using advanced semiconductor fabrication techniques similar to those used in chip manufacturing. So these microchannels, with diameters comparable to the human hair, which is 50 to 100 micrometers, they're precisely carved into the silicon substrate to create a 3-dimensional network of fluid pathways that can route coolant directly to heat generating hotspots. So the challenge itself lies in achieving the optimal balance between channel depth and structural integrity, obviously. The channels must be deep enough to allow adequate cooling flowing rates without creating pressure drops that would impede circulation. yet they have to be shallow enough to avoid compromising the mechanical strength of the silicon wafer. And so Microsoft, they've developed 4 distinct design iterations over the past year, and each refined through using computational fluid dynamic modeling and thermal analysis. And the final design incorporates variable channel geometries that adapt to specific heat signatures. I think this is a huge breakthrough that's not being covered. If this is actually going to happen, it seems like it is, but what are your thoughts, Craig?
Well, we're at an AI tipping point. They're spending billions in the U.S. on Project Stargate with all those AI data centers. They're building that what's it called, Wonderland or whatever out in Alberta. That Mr.
Yeah.
Wonderful pushing their AI power data center out there. So the process are generating so much heat that traditional cooling methods like air conditioning and cold plates can't keep up. So this is a thermal bottleneck that limits how fast and powerful we can make AI. Plus, the current data center cooling system consumes so much energy. So tests show that a 65% reduction in chips maximum temperature using this capability. This lets the chip run faster and more reliably. More power, less space, because it's more efficient, up to 3 times. So data centers can pack more chips into each server rack because they had to have so much space for airflow, so much stuff. So this is a big potential breakthrough, enabling totally new chip designs. For years, engineers have wanted to stack chips in 3D to make them more powerful, but they couldn't to solve heat problems. This technology can make 3D stacking chips a real possibility. So it's a massive win for data centers and AI sustainability, and potentially gives us a greener cloud. But I don't think it's green. Saying greener means it wastes a lot less energy, but it's still wasting a lot of energy. So I don't know if I like green,
honestly,
right?
I don't think they're going to use this to
Achieve net zero.
to be net zero. They're going to use this to increase output power.
Yeah,
for sure.
Agreed. They're going to use this to pack more stuff, so the output will probably be just as high.
Exactly. It's still going to heat up just as much, but it'll be more powerful.
It sounds like they'll be putting 30% more chips in per rack, if by volume, if not more, this way. So we'll have to see how that goes. I love the concept because it really starts to change the way how chip designers, we could see that kind of stuff even in laptops at some point because of the way it's designed. A thicker chip with cooling actually running through it and stuff. So I'm really interested in where this goes. I'm
me too.
excited.
Especially now because I think right now global data center electricity consumption is about 1%, and it's projected to reach 8% by 2030. And on top of that, AI data center energy intensity is 10 to 20 times consumes more power than traditional servers. So it's going to help. I think I don't think it's going to help save energy. I think it'll just help us create more powerful chips.
Yeah, it saves more energy on a per chip level, or a per cycle level or what have you. So they'll just cram more stuff into it so they can reach that maximum threshold again. I think I mentioned this, but the cooling technology is biomimetic. It's designed, is AI optimized to mimic the highly efficient natural patterns found in leaf veins and butterfly wings. So it has ripples in these ridges to help with the cooling that were designed by AI.
Just a side note, speaking of butterfly wings, I just saw that they did a butterfly monarch wing transplant, which took about 5 minutes to do. Crazy, right?
That is crazy. I have more questions than
I'll send you the article. But anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
we'll move on because we have to. But I'd like to ask more questions about that. So there you have it. We're hitting a thermal wall, and Microsoft's answer is to build tiny leaf veined inspired liquid pipes right into the chip itself. It's an incredible piece of engineering that could make AI faster and greener. We'll be watching closely to see how fast the rest of the industry adopts it.
Yeah.
We're still doing all right. I guess we can start having a new saying instead of shut your pie hole. Shut your gravity hole. All right, share this tab instead. The gravity hole. We're diving deep, literally, into a mysterious mystery that has puzzled scientists for 75 years. It turns out that there's a massive gravity hole in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and researchers have finally figured out what caused it. The answer involves ancient continents, sinking ocean floors, and giant rising plumes of hot rock from deep inside the Earth. So scientists have finally solved the puzzle of the Indian Ocean geoid low, a massive 1.2 million square mile area where gravity is mysteriously weak. It's not a hole in the seafloor. It's caused by a lack of mass deep in the Earth's mantle. This is a huge breakthrough because it's the first time we've been able to connect ancient geological history from 140 million years ago to something we can physically measure on the planet today. What do you think about this, John?
I think this is cool. And the one thing that this article doesn't talk about, which led me to this, was that this gravity hole is actually growing. And I don't know if it was covered in this, but so the thing is it's not a physical hole that you can see or fall into. Okay, it's an invisible gravitational anomaly called IOGL, the Indian Ocean Geoid Low. I don't know why it ended with that word, but whatever. Think of it like this. So imagine the Earth as a giant potato instead of a perfect spear. The gravity hole is like a massive dent in that potato. It represents where the planet's gravitational pull is significantly weaker than everywhere else. So if you want to weigh less, go move there. But what makes this remarkable is this region's located in southwest of India and Sri Lanka, and it represents the largest negative gravity anomaly on our entire planet. It was first discovered in 1948, but for 75 years, no one could explain why it existed. The seafloor looks completely normal. There's no visible crater or depression to account for such a dramatic gravitational difference. But in 2023, researchers cracked the code using, surprise, surprise, sophisticated computer simulations that modeled Earth's interior over the past 140 million years. I still want to know, like, I'd love to see a computer model that goes through 140 million years of modeling. I'd love to see what that looks like. But anyways, they discovered that this gravity hole is actually the ghost of an ancient ocean. So when India broke away from the supercontinent Gondwana and crashed into Asia to form the Himalayas, it destroyed an ocean called the Tethys. And so the remnants of this ancient ocean floor sank deep into Earth's mantle, where they're still affecting the planet's structure today. I think this is super cool. So the sinking ocean remains have created hot rising plumes of less dense material beneath the Indian Ocean, and they've created this mass deficit underground. So it's like having a pocket of lighter material deep beneath the ocean floor, and that reduces the gravitational pull in that region. So the result is Earth's most dramatic example of how our planet's violent geological past continues to shape its present-day physics. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think this is cool, or you're just like, meh?
I think it's really cool. Like, I mean, this puzzle's been around for 75 years, right? And this anomaly is located, 746 miles southwest off of India.
Yeah.
So the breakthrough research has created the first comprehensive framework that connects the surface plate motions, deep mantle circulation, and modern gravity measurement into one geological model, which is interesting. I think it's a little dangerous when you start putting them all together, because as soon as one else changes, the model breaks when you start stringing too many things together. But hey, I'm not the scientist running these things, so let them go at it. So this I love because we're learning more and more about sea levels, what affects it. And now our models can potentially account not only for stuff that's happening for climate change, but stuff that's related to the mantle of the earth, because we never really understood a lot what's happening with that.
Yeah. So the thing is with this is like, oh, why do we care? But this discovery has implications for understanding global geodynamic systems and their potential connections to climate change over geological time, which is really cool. So understanding these deep connections, it's going to become increasingly important as scientists try to investigate the role of the mantle process in long-term climate evolution, particularly during major climate transitions. So like there's a lot of benefit that this breakthrough is going to have. I don't know when we're going to see other implications or other uses, but I'm interested to see where this takes us going forward.
Yeah, and it shows us that these deep plumes can have a huge effects even if they don't reach the surface, even like volcanoes, for example. So it gives us a better understanding of our Earth and what's happening. And anytime that happens is a good thing. So I'm really looking forward to learning more about this and what it leads to.
Yeah, me too.
So, a 75-year-old mystery is finally solved, and it's a reminder that our planet is anything but static. It's amazing to think that a hole in gravity is being caused by the ghosts of an ancient ocean. It really makes you wonder what other massive secrets are still hiding deep inside the earth. Let us know what you think. All right. High temp alloys.
Yeah.
Right. Back, everything looks good. Let's dive into something that could fundamentally change, well, just about everything that gets hot. I'm talking about jet engines, power plants, and anything that needs to run efficiently. It looks like a new breakthrough in material science is about to smash a decades old temperature barrier that has held back our technology for years. Scientists in Germany have created a new super metal that can stay incredibly strong at temperatures way hotter than current materials. We're talking over 1100 Celsius, because there's a kicker. But there's a kicker. Unlike other heat-proof metals, this one doesn't become brittle and shatter at room temperature. This is the holy grail for engineers, as it means we can finally build things with it, opening the doors for hyper-efficient jet engines and power plants. What do you think about this, John?
I'm excited for this. This is really cool. And one of the alloys, or one of the ingredients in this alloy we've covered before, and I can't remember why, but I just remember it because of how it's pronounced. So the new alloy, it's made from chromium, the one that we covered before, molybdenum, and a tiny amount of silicon. So this new alloy, it doesn't break, it doesn't rust, and it doesn't melt under conditions that would destroy most other metals. And so obviously this is revolutionary. They could, the problem is that they've faced an impossible choice when designing jet engines, power turbines, or other high temperature equipment. The thing is they could use materials that are incredibly strong at high temperatures but crack easily at room temperature, or they could use materials that are flexible and workable but can't handle extreme heat. So this new alloy is the first to excel at both. And so this breakthrough kind of centers around three key properties that have never been achieved together before. So the first is room temperature ductility, which is unlike other super strong metals, you can bend and shape this material without it shattering. The second is extreme heat resistance, which means that it can operate safely at temperatures of up to 1100 degrees Celsius, or for your US people, 2012 Fahrenheit, and has a melting point near 2000 degrees Celsius, or 3632 degrees Fahrenheit. And the third breakthrough property is oxidation resistance. So it doesn't rust, corrode, or degrade, even when it's exposed to oxygen at scorching temperatures. So The thing about this is these implications are enormous. Every degree of temperature increase in jet engines and power turbine translate to roughly 5% better fuel efficiency. This is really cool. There's we can get into a whole lot more about the molecular makeup of this, but I think this is really cool. What are your thoughts on this, Craig? Do you think this is our wonder material that's going to help us with fusion technology, with these jet engines that maybe we'll cover today or maybe we'll cover in another episode?
Yeah, I think so. And I like, it says cut fuel use about 5%. That's billions in savings for airlines. And if you talk about effect on the environment, that means less pollution and stuff as well. So I'm really a cleaner, more efficient energy and plane and power means that we burn less fuel. This directly translates to CO2 reduction. Power plants, gas, coal, and even nuclear could run more efficiently, squeezing more electricity out of the same amount of fuel, improving our energy grid. This is perfect for things like rockets and satellites that have to survive extreme heat through and cold going through space and whatnot without cracking.
Yeah.
So I really love that we have this new space age material, and we'll have to see what it looks like taking it out of the lab. It worked perfectly there, but will it work in a real high pressure jet engine that's shaking violently in 10,000 hours?
Yeah, well, the cool thing, and we always talk about scalability and manufacturing, right? So the cool thing about this is that the alloy synthesis employs arc melting techniques with carefully controlled atmospheric conditions. What that does is that ensures compositional homogeneity and it minimizes contaminations. So they've developed specific protocols for melting under sub-atmospheric argon environments with zirconium jetters to eliminate residual oxygen that could compromise the alloy's oxidation resistance properties. The manufacturing approach that they've done, it actually demonstrates scalability potential through established powder metallurgy routes that are familiar to the super alloy industry. So what I like about this is that unlike exotic processing requirements that often limit laboratory breakthroughs from commercial implementation, the way that they approach this alloy's production, this aligns with existing industrial capabilities, which means this could scale soon, which I like.
Yeah. The big question is how cost effective will be, because the manufacturing process sounds incredibly expensive. They use ultra high pure materials and a complex art melting process you talked about. Involves melting the alloy 5 separate times to mix it properly. So, so it sounds quite intensive.
It does. Yeah, it does. And obviously this is going to be very expensive at the start until they can figure out how to manufacture it cheaper. But at least we know that it can scale, which is one of the biggest hurdles for things like this.
And the secret is a tiny amount of silicon. The whole recipe works with just 3 atomic percent silicon. Any more, and the alloy becomes brittle. Any less, and it doesn't protect itself.
Crazy. I love it.
So, this is really cool stuff. This new super metal is a huge deal, and it's at the starting line, not the finish line. It's the key that could unlock a new generation of hyper efficient, cleaner technology. We'll be watching this one closely to see if we can make the jump from the lab to the real world. That's all the time we have, but we'd love to know what you think. What's the one technology you're waiting for that could change everything? Let us know. Want to do the ramjet?
We can if we do it in the next 5 minutes.
Or do you want to call it?
It's up to you.
We do it.
Well.
Did you say might as well do it?
Yeah, might as well.
Okay, I missed that part. All right. Do ramjet.
Oh, GE's one. Okay.
Yeah. Let's dive into technology that sounds like pure science fiction, but is being tested right now. We're talking about flying at over 3,800 miles per hour using an engine with literally zero moving parts. GE Aerospace has just hit a major milestone that could change everything from national defense to one day getting you from New York to London in under an hour. The GE Aerospace is successfully testing a new solid fuel ramjet engine that can power vehicles beyond Mach 5. It's a breakthrough because it's 4 times more fuel efficient than any traditional rocket and incredibly simple. It has no moving parts. This technology could make current air defense systems obsolete and eventually lead to hypersonic passenger jets. What do you think about this, John?
Yeah, I'm excited for this. And so, like you said, there's zero moving parts, and it's designed to propel aircraft beyond Mach 5, which is 5 times the speed of sound. So the way to think about it like this is think about this engine like a hollow tube lined with a rubber-like fuel that literally eats itself as it burns, which creates tremendous thrust. So the engine called Atlas, which is Atmospheric Test of Launched Air Breathing System, it was bolted to a Cold War era F-104 fighter and flown at supersonic speeds over Kennedy Space Center in September 2024. So they're already testing this, which is cool. So it lies the breakthrough itself, which you kind of touched on, it lies in eliminating the complex fuel injection systems that plague traditional ramjets. So instead of liquid fuel pumps and valves, they've lined the interior of the engine with a solid hydrocarbon fuel that essentially resembles rubber. And so as air rushes in at supersonic speeds, it provides the oxygen for combustion while the solid fuel burns away, exposing fresh fuel layers continuously. So I think this is really cool. The design achieves a specific impulse around 1,000 seconds compared to just 240 seconds for solid rocket motors, which is 4 times more efficient. I'm excited for this. I think this is a huge breakthrough, but we're talking about ramjet, not we're talking about ramjet engines, right? So, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, keep in mind that this engine is not taken off from the ground or whatever. You have to be moving at a pretty fast speed to enable this already. So it's an add-on. It's like a turbocharger on top of your regular engine, for lack of a better. You kick in the overdrive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This could be operational in military applications within 5 to 10 years. And we could see this in civilian travel likely 15 to 20 years. There are huge regulatory and safety hurdles over this. So you have to understand the environmental impact of this type of solid food, a food fuel.
It is food. It's food for the engine, but yeah.
Yeah. The next step is free flights tests where they can actually fire it up and get it going. So we'll have to see. They're planning captive carry tests were completed in 2025. They strapped a non-ignited engine to a fighter to see how its structure and aerodynamic form. The next step is a free flight where they fire it up. So they haven't fired it up on a jet yet. So we'll have to see.
Yeah. I think this is cool. I think this is awesome. They've already strapped it on to a starfighter jet F-104. So it's not like it's just in the laboratory test phase, right? So this is really cool.
Yeah, and the biggest hurdle is extreme heat. Flying at Mach 5 generates unbelievable heat. Go back to our last thing we just talked about, or our previous podcast, everyone, where we talk about the new extreme metal that can probably tolerate this. But they need to develop materials that can withstand these types of conditions repeatedly.
Yeah.
Steering a vehicle at 3,800 miles an hour is incredibly difficult. So new control systems will need to be required and maybe integrated with AI or some sort of thing that can react faster than humans. Yeah, I'm really excited at where this is going. A Mach 5 is about 3,800 miles per hour or 6,100 kilometers. I'm trying to feel what temperature it gets at, but is an Atlas program from G is a major credible player in the aviation and defense system. So they usually don't blow smoke when this stuff is happening. So we'll have to see.
Yeah.
So that's the solid rocket fuel ramjet, an engine with no moving parts that could change our world. It's a classic case of military tech that could one day end up in our daily lives. The question is, are we ready for a world where missiles are nearly unstoppable and a flight to London is shorter than a movie? Well, we'll be keeping a close eye on this and let you know. Give us your thoughts in the comments below. So what do you got going on, John?
Yeah, well, just helping companies secure government funding. So, it's a great time to reach out if you have any questions. How about you, Craig?
Well, there's a lot going on over at flowgrammer.ca. We're doing automation and AI and business processes. We do events, but we're really ramping our business up. And check out all the things we're doing over there. If you're interested in business automation, we've got community events where we're teaching everyone. We do an online, and we're about to launch our new resource center, flowgrammers.ca, which might be out when some of these are out. Other than that, check out torontostarts.com for everything we do. Our monthly startup investor drinks, where you get to pitch to the crowd, business owners and investors, and have real conversations and make real connections. So for all those things, check out torontostarts.com. And for everything else, anything else, John, before we say goodbye?
No, just reach out to me on LinkedIn, John Irwin, if you want.
John Irwin on LinkedIn. Thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.